And I'm sorry, but I'm just a little confused. You started off by talking about Dartmouth and intellectual diversity, then you moved on to discuss walls and their philosophical backing, then you talked about your experiences as an illegal
What's the
immigrant.
question?
But, so, you touched on a large number of topics, and you touched on a lot of them lightly, but none in detail. So my question is, was your goal here to change minds by putting forward a concerted argument? If so, what was it, and do you think you might change more minds by staying on a singular topic?
I recognize that a talk like this is in an awkward position, because the stuff that I'm going to say to you, you're probably going to hear only once. The other side is bombarding you every day. If I want to cover a certain ground, let's just say a word about the Democratic Party, say a word about walls, I'm going to have to do a little bit of intellectual leapfrogging just to be able to introduce ideas that I only get one shot at sharing with you. So I could have chosen to do a very close reading of a Frost poem, or discuss purely let's just say, the glitches in current immigration policy. But if that's the only conservatism you get this year, I feel like I would be doing you a disservice. There's so much I want to say that, a little bit like a fire hose, I've got to give a few squirts in different directions. Look, I have innumerable YouTube videos that zoom into these topics. I've written books on them. I've done 2 books on the history of the Democratic Party alone. So there's more there. What this talk I'm hoping will be is, to use Kant's phrase, a prolegomena, an introduction, a gateway to ideas that I hope you'll check out for yourself. Okay.
Thanks for coming to speak with us. I wanted your points on civil action within the millennial generation. So you talked about the party of the ladder and the party of the rope. So what do you think we as the college generation can do to make sure the ladder's not broken?
The difficulty of the ladder, a difficulty, by the way, recognized by the founders and recognized by observers in America like Tocqueville, is that it is sustained not only by the strength of the ladder, but by the inner strength of the people who are climbing the ladder. If the guy who's climbing the ladder becomes discouraged and says, I can't climb a ladder, he's going to be tempted to move over and hold on to the rope. The appeal, if you will, of the rope is the appeal to sloth. It's an appeal to helplessness. It's an appeal to ultimately freeze yourself into a life of helplessness in which you not only come to see yourself as a victim, but you relish it. Victimhood actually becomes your identity. And this, I think, is the moral tragedy of the rope, is it crushes your soul. It takes souls that are actually capable, enterprising, and creative. And instead of building their creativity, it squashes them. It demoralizes them. I mean, this is not, I may seem to be talking in metaphor, but literally, one day, just drive the Pine Ridge Reservation, Indian Reservation in South Dakota, and look, and you will see the philosophy of the rope played out. Just drive a barrio in South Texas. Debbie grew up in the Rio Grande Valley. People live by the rope. You can see it, and you can see that their souls have been flattened, and in a way, the creative life has been drained out of them. And the only self-respect that they have is ultimately to say that the reason I am in this miserable state is somebody did it to me. To which my answer is, yes, somebody did do it to you. That somebody is the Democratic Party.
Thank you.
Okay.
This will be our last question of the night. Dinesh, thanks for coming out. So near the end of the talk, you discussed the historical legacy of the Democratic Party. And one thing that's often brought up, and I apologize in advance because I'm not very knowledgeable at the topic, but one thing that's often brought up when discussing the historical legacies of either party is a sort of party shift that's occurred over time, say since the Civil War to now. Do you think that your idea of the historical legacy of the Democratic Party and maybe even the Republican Party fits in with that ideological shift that occurred between the Civil War and the present?
So the question is a very good one, and it has to do with the fact that was there a big switch between the parties? Typically, the people who say this argue that since the 1960s, in response to the civil rights movement, the parties, if you will, swapped platforms. And the proof of this is very simple, that the racist Dixiecrats, I define a Dixiecrat as somebody who joined the Dixiecrat Party or voted against the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Fair Housing Bill of 68. So this is a Dixiecrat. The racist Dixiecrats became Republicans. Now, this is an empirical question. Did the racist Dixiecrats become Republicans? In my last movie, Death of a Nation, I say, let us count. And up on the screen go the 150 or so names of the racist Dixiecrats, and they're all there. And then we count how many of the racist Dixiecrats became Republicans. And the correct answer to that question is 2. In the House, one guy, Albert Watson. In the Senate, one guy, Strom Thurmond. And all the other racist Dixiecrats lived and stayed and died in the Democratic Party. They are lionized to this day, and there are buildings in Washington, D.C. named after them. So the fact of the matter is that there was no big switch. Yes, blacks did switch from Republican to Democrat, but they did that in the 1930s in response to the economic promises of FDR and the New Deal. That had nothing to do with race. It was an economic proposition through and through. So what I'm getting at is that things are known to us as intelligent people that are not true. And this, I think, puts a lot of intellectual pressure on us and on me, because when I say things on campus, people look at me like, he's crazy. Why? Because that's not in the History Channel, and that's not in Wikipedia, and that's not what my professor said, and that's not what I read in Barnes & Noble. And the reason I like to bring these things down to empirical particulars is because they're checkable. My greatest ally is we live in a time where you can check on your phone. So pull out your phone. Pardon me? It's okay. Let her go. We're gonna. Okay, tell me.
Kevin M. Cross has in fact shown you all the statistics that you claim are untrue. What you say about the Southern Democrats is not unknown. I am in fact an immigrant like you. I come from the same country that you come from. And I am not here to debate Democrat versus Republican. I am simply disappointed because you are producing facts that are simply not true.
Name one.
And you are not a historian. For example, the party realignment. You should just go check your own Twitter page. This has been.
Believe me, I have.
Yes, so have I. So have I. Yeah. And I can see that you've been missing.
Okay, let's pause. We need to situate what you're talking, because you're making references here that need to be brought out. There is a historian at Princeton named Kevin Cruz. And Cruz and I have been having a kind of a Twitter fight, if you will, about Dixiecrats. Now, Cruz plays a very sly game. He counts as Dixiecrats people who are not Dixiecrats. And so if I say to him, only 2 racist Dixiecrats became Republicans, he goes, what about John Tower? What about Jesse Helms? What about Trent Lott? And my response is, don't be an idiot. We're talking about Dixiecrats. None of those were... I'm not, hold on.
This is literally his research.
It's not his research. He has written one book on white flight in Atlanta. Hold on. Hold on. Let's.
You've asked him to debate him. You've asked him to debate him, but I can inform you, Mr. D'Souza, that this is not how how academics works. You can write a paper. He writes a paper. I can speak. I thought the idea is free speech. You could have waited on mine to ask. I did wait on mine.
Guys, hold on. I think what he's trying to say is that somewhat like the illegal, you want to jump the line. And